As we all connected from different time zones, a global hello. On behalf of SANAM S4, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you today to an insightful session by Queen Mary University of London on Pathways, the Future of Education. Our impanel guests will share insights on the subject and will be happy to answer any questions from the audience. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And without further ado, I'd like to pass this on to Ms. Nishi Sardana, who will be moderating the session. Over to you, Nishi.
Thank you, Ritika, for a lovely welcome and a global warm welcome to everyone who's tuned in from different parts of the world. I would like to begin this panel discussion by introducing our experts. Today, we have Chris Mezzle. He has been part of Queen Mary since 2015, working on various courses within the Language Center, and is now the International Foundation Program Convener. Prior to moving into higher education sector, he taught English and delivered teacher training courses in North Africa, Middle East, East Asia for over a decade. He has also worked in different schools across the school sector in London. We also have Dr. Pratibha Jain with us today, who is one of India's leading education consultant. With a doctorate in education psychology from Delhi University, she has more than 3 decades of experience in career counseling, aptitude testing, and college placement. She has pioneered a new model where leading schools and college outsource their entire counseling near to Dr. Jain's team, and she provides a student-centric approach to her students and informs the parents and provides the best college match for them according to their academic profile and their individualist criteria. She has also won the Times of India Award for Excellence in Education. Alongside Dr. Jain and Chris, we have our 2 alumni who have taken the foundation year at Queen Mary. We have Anushka Akhtar, who is a graduate of 2021, and she started her journey at Queen Mary as a foundation student in 2017. She then pursued BSc Economics and Politics at Queen Mary, and Anushka is currently interning at Global Fellows Consulting, where she's researching on climate and various other projects. She has also worked as a research assistant at Queen Mary and was head of macroeconomics research team for Queen Mary Trade and Investment Society at the School of Economics and Finance. Anushka is currently looking forward to her master's degree, where she is an incoming student to the University of Oxford this fall, and she will be joining it in October. We also have Sanchit Jain. He has also completed Queen Mary recently and is an alumni and finished his degree in 2021. He completed BSc Honors in Computer Science with Management, and he was the Vice President of Queen Mary Indian Society, and also the Vice President and was responsible for liaising with Indian High Commission, London and Queen Mary University India office, and representing 500 plus Indian students studying at Queen Mary at the Student Union and the management. Sachin is also Welfare Officer of Queen Mary Student Union, and he's also won a lot of projects and competitions where during his study period at Queen Mary. He won the runners-up prize for Tech Partnership Gold Degree and also won the Tech Partnership Gold Degree which was organized by IBM in London. So without a further ado, I would like Chris Mezzle and Dr. Jain to share their opening remarks on our current panel discussion. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Well, hello to everybody. I am the program convener for the IFY, the International Foundation Year. As noted before, I'm originally from the USA, but I've worked all across the world in various contexts. And I've been based at Queen Mary since roughly 2015. I think as a general overview to the program, I should note that at Queen Mary, our foundation programs are offered for the entire university. So that includes all 3 faculty that we have. That's the humanities and social sciences, the science and engineering, and medicine and dentistry. in relation to the International Foundation year, which I'm convening, we are based in the Humanities and Social Sciences faculty. And this serves a number of different schools, including the School of English and Drama, School of Language, Linguistics and Film, the History School, the School of Politics and International Relations, the Law School, School of Geography, the School of Business and Management, and finally the School of Economics and Finances. So a foundation program has a number of aims. We firstly provide our students with a route to a degree program at Queen Mary, as well as other UK universities or international universities if desired. And some of our students do find that they like to go elsewhere, but we'll firstly offer a direct route into Queen Mary. And the program itself is designed to help students show they have the subject knowledge, linguistic competence, and study skills that are required not only for the entry into the first year of a degree program, but they cultivate success on that degree program and far beyond. So just a point about linguistic competence, as foundation programs are sometimes confused with language programs. The language inherent to the course itself can be thought of as improving for some students for whom it's not the first language. This would be their written and spoken English, but we do have a number of students who are quite a bit more fluent. And for all of them, the focus is actually a refinement in how students read and speak and write and communicate in the university context. So enabling someone to operate independently with these academic discourse communities is not something that comes naturally by virtue of knowing a language. This is something that has to be developed and cultivated over time. And we are, in a sense, a direct route into doing that within an academic program that prepares students directly for the degree they would like to study. So we understand that this move from school to university is a move requires support, and we see it very much as a transition into the way that students independently manage their academic and personal commitments, while also cultivating those soft skills that are required for success beyond university. So once again, this is not just a program to support students who struggled at school to achieve their maximum potential. It gives a great advantage to any foundation graduate over their peers because these autonomous study skills engage students in critical thinking processes, competency in the academic dialogue and communication that allows them to thrive. So as a parting point, just to say that our foundation graduates outperform their peers who did not study a foundation course. And in just the last few years, we note that far more of our students not only achieve higher marks in their first year as undergraduates, they tend to graduate with comparatively more upper class awards of merits and distinctions and gain access in many cases to the most elite institutions in the world upon postgraduate studies. So thank you very much. And I certainly look forward to explaining more about the program as we go into some of the questions.
Thank you, Chris. That was wonderful. Over to you, Dr. Jain.
Thank you, Mishi. Thank you, Queen Mary University team, for inviting me to be part of this panel. I would like to share student voice, parent voice, having been a teacher as well as a parent and advising students over the years. I think that the transition from an Indian education system to a higher end university in any part of the world, but especially Britain, sometimes has always been a challenge. Even for the brightest of our students, that ability to auto-learn, to be a self-directed learner. How do I write a paper? My professor has given me 6 authors to read on one topic. That used to be the most surprising thing for students. 6 authors on one topic. How am I supposed to read it in 3 days? And then it would really puzzle them. Because in India, we are very good academically, but we are very textbook oriented. We are given a blueprint, we are given a format, and we just have to follow that. So the foundation serves as a good skill orientation. where you learn reading skills, analytical things. You learn, why am I reading 6 authors? It's not just to torture me over 3 days. It's to make me think about a topic from 360 degrees perspective, which is the beauty of the international education at large. And the reason to go abroad is lost if we are still reading one author, or we are looking the world in a blinkered way. So I think foundation is a good transition in terms of skill sets and learning styles, so that when the degree workload happens, students are seamlessly fitting in. What we say, you land with your feet running, and we know that there is plenty of opportunities to do research. I was just talking to Anushka while in the waiting, and Sanchit as well, and that they are a true example of how, if you are comfortable with your academics, you can then look at the wider opportunities that the university offers. So academics is taken care of because you are seamlessly understanding what you have to do. And then you participate in all the extra activities, which is research driven, which is being part of social societies, all the university society, because that's where your personality develops. That's where you become confident global citizen. You're working with students from different disciplines, come together in the societies. And that is, I think, the true learning and the true advantage of going abroad. So I think these are wonderful opportunities for Indian students to, make a future of learning. Learning itself is a skill. What we learn, the academics may become redundant by the time we work, but if we have lifelong learning skills, then we keep up. We know that this is what we have to read to understand a new technology which may be invented in 2028. So becoming a lifelong learner is, I think, the greatest advantage of the skills that you gain through the foundation and the university in the future.
Very rightly put, ma'am. And Chris, it is it's a very essential skill to learn, and sometimes the students end up missing on the opportunity because of having a closed mindset. And the idea behind today's panel discussion is to open the mind and to understand and break the myths around foundation courses that are there and are offered by Queen Mary University of London. So moving on, panel discussion, I would just like to emphasize that thank you for those who've joined in today. I would request the audiences to share their questions in the Q&A section. We will address the same towards the end of the discussion. And now I would like to start by asking my first question. Dr. Jain, this one is for you. As a leader with such a rich experience, you have observed many changes in the higher education space that you mentioned earlier. What is the current mindset of students, especially at undergraduate level, especially right now when there is uncertainty around results and they're going to be late? And also this may change how people are evaluated this year. So what is the current mindset for students at the moment?
There is really high anxiety among parents and students, mainly from two reasons. What if we don't meet our conditional offers? And what most important, if my results are delayed and visa is delayed, will I make it in time to join my university by October? So we are requesting, actually, I'm hoping to use this panel, that universities are sending out very comforting messages that you can probably start online till you arrive, because you have 10 days on quarantine. Till you arrive on campus, you will be well supported through online learning, so you won't miss anything, and you can join in whenever your visa happens. And so universities are cooperating, but there is a panic. And to be honest, sometimes we are losing students to just, taking an admission anywhere that they are getting. But that way, the foundation does serve a sort of a comfort level, that if I miss my admission or I miss my conditions, I still have a place to go in the UK.
Yes, very rightly said, ma'am. There has to be some flexibility for students so that they can uptake their full potential. Chris, you have also noticed as an academic and as a program convener now, how does integrating the communicative pedagogy into higher education setting fall into the sync with the current market trends? Chris, you're on mute.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, it's hidden my viewing window. Yes, thank you for that question. I think you've referred to communicative pedagogy. So what we call communicative language teaching is perhaps something which is very important just to have a background here. And that methodology originated, we might say, in the English language teaching pedagogy overseas for about the past 40 years. And so it's perhaps important to consider the way in which those concepts have gradually been incorporated, not only into mainstream education in the United Kingdom, but we might think in general in the teacher training methodology. So perhaps it's best to express the relationship between communicative pedagogy and a student-centered methodology as being one of the proven best ways of engaging the learners through an active and meaningful participation process in the classroom. In relation to the foundation course, many of our students might come with various levels of language competency. And so with particular reference to the modules that we teach on this course, we have something called the English Language and Study module, which is core and required for all students, regardless of the pathway. And part of the approach prioritizes group work, scaffolded learning tasks, where the teacher slowly builds up and shows them through modeling exactly how they might approach the necessary critical thinking and analytical discussion of the topics, and in order to incorporate that into some written oral discourse. And all of this is something we use to encourage active participation from the students. And this is, you might say, an inherent expectation that students will face when they're an undergraduate during their seminars. So one thing we do in the foundation course is to try to model this communicative and interactive objectivity with the appropriate language so that the students can really understand how to develop their contributions. You've just said, so how does this fall in line with the market trends? Well, you might say that one of the goals is to enable the students not only to fully develop this ability to communicate, let's say, globally within their course in the different students that they encounter, but also beyond in their career. So to reference once again some of our core modules in English language and study skills, we also include some pastoral support throughout the course where students are monitored fortnightly. And you'd say that this holistic approach to developing the student is one way that we really prepare students to do well on their course. And the interaction that is inherent in this communicative style lets them cultivate that confidence that we know they'll succeed outside of the classroom. They independently communicate with each other. These transferable soft skills are then taken into the wider world. It's very much an opportunity to enable students to become a part of that whole university community. And by virtue of studying at this elite research-focused institution, it feeds into their ability to communicate across boundaries and different cultural and language barriers beyond.
That's definitely very comprehensive. We will touch upon that in more details in the upcoming questions. And before that, I would like to ask Dr. Jain. Dr. Jain, there are times when students are unable to perform as predicted And in such situations, what aspects should students keep in mind before weighing their options and choosing the right course for them?
So as a psychologist, I personally believe that every student has a strength. And we may take time to discover the actual strength area. And I just would request students to be patient with themselves. Sometimes we are just impatient. Oh, I've failed, so I really am not good at anything. That is the mindset we have to change. It has to be, look, if I'm not good at one thing, it's fine. I am good at other things, and therefore exploring skills, exploring, maybe I'm not so great at finance, I could be great at marketing. I could be good at media and communication. I'm good designer. I'm today my graphic designers are earning as much as an investment banker. So what the important thing is for students to realize is that it is excellence that earns status and money. It is not a course, it's not a degree. That so if you find what you enjoy, then you will excel at what you do, and then you will earn. So don't fit into the stereotypes the world asks you to fall into. Oh, you must be finance, or you must be a computer engineer. There are no musts for this generation. You must enjoy what you do is the only must that they should follow.
That's very insightful, ma'am, and I'm sure this would help students think and broaden the horizon. It forces them to think that we shouldn't box ourselves, we shouldn't box our limits. There's so much we can achieve, and at a tender age of 17, there is definitely so much to explore for them. On that note, I wanted to ask you, Chris, what are the different pathways that are offered at Queen Mary? If you could just shed some light on that, please.
Yes, so we offer a number of different pathways. As mentioned before, there are direct routes into each of these schools within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. So with that name, one of our pathways for students who may be less certain about the precise degree they want to study is the Humanities and Social Sciences pathway, which will combine a number of different electives that we offer within the course. It may comprise of history, politics, human geography. It might include a modern foreign language. It could also include, if they desired, a business management or even economics and finance-based courses. So we allow students the opportunity in that particular pathway to have some flexibility. For those students who are more certain about what they'd like to study, we have the business and management pathway and or the economics and finance pathway, where some of your required modules will be based within those specific subjects. But of course, each of the pathways does offer room for an elective. So oftentimes what we find is that students will complement their main compulsory subjects with another that they might think is something they are either interested in, or maybe they think that it goes well with the subject. And other students might study what we call integrated foundation years, where they're actually directly enrolled in this case, the School of Business and Management Studies or the School of Economics and Finance on a 4-year program. So it would be 3 years plus 1. So that's another option for some of our students that they take. And we also have a law pathway, which always includes 3 essay-based modules, of which it has to include history and politics. And students oftentimes will choose human geography, or other students might choose business, if that might be something that they are also interested in. So we have the law pathway, and then finally, we offer the politics and international relations pathway, as well as the literature, film, and drama pathway. So a great deal of variety for any of the students, regardless of the pathway they choose, but depending on how certain a student is at the point of application, there's something that may be more appropriate for them there.
Great, that's quite a variety for students to pick from. It definitely lets them explore across the platform. There's a huge range of small modules that can help them understand their interest and choose their degree later on. I just wanted to ask, this just made me think, Sanchit, what foundation program did you take up at Queen Mary, and what motivated you to take that as a foundation at Queen Mary and do that year first?
So I took the Science and Engineering Foundation course in 2017. So I completed my 12th grade in 2017, and I was just 17 years old, and I really didn't know which stream to enter. At this point, my parents were confused, and I was also really confused. And I then came across Queen Mary's website saying about foundation course, and then I personally met Jaspreet, which reassured me about the foundation program. And after intensive research, I set my path of business and computer science with that foundation degree here at QM.
Wow, that's wonderful. So your parents let you explore and find your strengths in that 0 year that sets the foundation.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, you definitely have great supportive parents. That's wonderful. I just wanted to ask on that note, the parents are often a very big driving force when they have to choose careers for students or help them decide their stream. So Dr. Jain, what would you say that how should students not give into that parental pressure or peer pressure, and what advice would you have for counselors and parents as how they can help their child navigate this process?
So Mishi, the good news is that the parents themselves have changed. I think the stereotypes that surrounded society have changed in the last 10 years. This parent generation of, say, a 17, 18-year-old are themselves very willing to explore, because they realize that only when their child fits into the discipline that he's going to excel. So that attitude that Sanchit's parents showed is now, I'm glad to say, more the norm than the exception. And that is definitely a reflection of students succeeding more and more when they reach university. The only advice I would give parents and students is to start a little early in the exploration. There is no need to wait till the 12th October when you have to fill the form. I think the exploration today should start from the 9th. There are many projects you can do. There is job shadowing. And luckily, we have started something called mentoring by professionals. I find that working people are more than happy to share their experiences, to share their journeys with students at a young age. So they should take use of the alumni and the parents of their own schools. The parent body is doing so much. This year, we've started a co-op at one of our schools where the parents have come in. I sent out 500 emails thinking that, I may get 10% response. But every parent said, look, we are happy to take people for job shadowing. We are happy to allow students to intern with us. They went out. So the exploration of careers should start early. Don't wait for the last 12th grade to then be under pressure. Oh my God, I'm still confused. So if you start the journey a little bit earlier, use your holidays to do Coursera courses, to do projects, because now the tools are also so many. So there is no reason to arrive at the time of application and then start asking questions as to what is my strength area. So as a counselor, we've started, processes and thoughts and ideas and conversations with career people, professionals much earlier, so that they are in the rhythm. I have an architect, designer, or a lawyer. I may be good in debate in class, but I don't want to read a lot. So I have one skill to be a lawyer, but not the other. What is more important? So things like that, when they meet real or have the opportunity for observation, then it is a more realistic understanding. And I think parents and students today both have that opportunity at a young age. And these are free tools accessible through the internet. One thing good, the only thing good about COVID has been that it has taught us to use technology. It has taught us to use distance learning and taught us to take advantage of net-based learning, conversations, and professionals. And we must take this learning future forward. And I think this is the one learning that can be proved a great advantage, especially to students in remote areas. We are not all living in Mumbai. I know that you have access to, I have students coming in from all areas, Indore, Solapur, Trichur, Assam. We have students from Srinagar who joined our career exploration series. So web has given us that opportunity and we must use it in a productive way to discover, identify, and consolidate.
Wow, that's definitely an eye-opener. It is definitely going to bring some changes for the parents in the future. And also, like you said, parents are slowly changing their mindset. And this will definitely help students ease out in their process when they're exploring the right careers for themselves. Anushka, I would like to know your viewpoints on this, as you have lived abroad for a while. What did it take for you to convince your parents, and how was that when you were choosing the foundation at Queen Mary?
Thank you, Mishi. So for me, when I was studying in high school, I was studying under the pure science stream. So I had a very STEM-based focus. But then I realized that for university, I wanted to shift to studying economics and politics as I had more passion for those subjects. And I believe the IFY in humanities and social science would equip me with the tools required to smoothly transition and get more in-depth knowledge of those subjects. And when I explained it to my parents, they were very supportive of my decision as well, because I think we all realized that it will be an opportunity for me to enhance knowledge in fields I'm not so familiar with, but it will also give me a taste of what the academic expectation at the university level is. So, and I definitely felt the IFY delivered on that aspect. So those were the skills we looked at when deciding.
Great, that's really nice to hear. Chris, I wanted to ask you on that note, that what are the additional skills that students learn during the foundation year? How does it set them apart, or what edge do they get if they do this year? They invest this time in doing the foundation and getting to know the subjects more. So if you could just share some information on that.
I think it's probably best to view the foundation year as a unique opportunity to get an advantage, not only as an undergraduate prospective applicant, but perhaps in the long term from what you get out of academia and beyond. We know that students who come straight from school to university have a significant adjustment to make. And what we try to target on this course is that all of these skills that students might be expected to know are not necessarily taught explicitly once a student begins their undergraduate year. So we try to make sure that we actually do that on the foundation course. And this is possible through a number of means. So firstly, all of our content is delivered only by qualified academics at Queen Mary. The mode of delivery exactly replicates what a student would face once they start their undergraduate studies. That's lectures, seminars, small and large group work, field work if it's necessary, for instance, in community geography. And these specific targeted skills that we incorporate into the course are not found once a student starts the undergraduate. So as I've mentioned before, we have a core module called English Language and Study Skills. And then in the second module, we have something called the Independent Study Project. And this actually goes far beyond what a student would be required to do at any point in secondary school, and even in the first 2 years of an undergraduate. So to give you an example, the Independent Study Project is a second semester module that requires students to individually select an academic topic relevant to their pathway. They then develop a suitable essay question, select academic sources, and then ultimately produce a 3,000-word discursive essay. They also present this research to their peers through a formal presentation. They participate in a viva, which is another step we use to enhance this development. And the content that is studied on these particular modules is interdisciplinary. So this has the means of forcing a student out of their comfort zone, embracing that objective dialogue necessary to analytically engage during the seminars. This is modeling how they're going to succeed as an undergraduate. And we also go into great depth about how a person can independently monitor themselves through the process of writing. So we encourage students to comment critically on academic texts, to understand how to do that close reading. They do annotated bibliography entries when they're determining if the sources they've selected are appropriate. This feeds into an extended essay plan and then multiple drafting processes in which there's an iterative engagement between the tutor and the student. And so just to end on this point, what do you gain? Well, it's possible that some of these processes are covered to some extent in school, but to the level that we do them here on this course, we really do ensure that a student is completely autonomous by the end of the year. And once they graduate from a foundation, they're fully capable of independently editing their work and doing it in the way that all of their specific subjects are going to require. This really pushes our students to the limits. And we find that most of the alumni would comment that the experience of doing this put them far beyond what they needed to do, even in those first 2 years as an undergraduate. And really, if you want to see the long-term impact, I mean, as if we've noted before, some of our students beyond their undergraduate tend to go on to some of the most elite institutions as postgraduates. So this includes Oxford and Cambridge.
Thank you, Chris, for that. I would like to know the student's perspective now, Sanchit. Chris has very rightly elaborated on the skills that you can learn. You being the foundation, you being the student who did foundation in science and engineering, how did it help you bridge that academic gap? And how did it help you attain that clear state of mind when you had to choose your the next course for yourself?
Well, thanks, Michi. The foundation course actually gave me a taste of what I was going to enter into. I remember earlier choosing computer science as my course, but then after doing my foundation degree at Queen Mary, I found out that I even had more opportunities, such as combining business management to the computer science course. Knowing that I had tasted all the subjects I was going to study, I was confident at my studies in future. Now, confidence is a very big part of university life, especially in a different country. In my experience, most of the students figure out at a later stage that they should have chosen a different course, but because of already spending a year worth of money and then trying to shift into a different course, those students choose to and end up performing below average. In my personal experience, I believe that I would have ended up in the same category of the students with low performance if I wouldn't have had a preview of what I was entering into beforehand. I have won 3 national awards during that time at QM, and my foundation course gave me more than enough experience on transitioning from my 12th grade towards my undergraduate degree. So I essentially believe that this was really a big part of my life. Thank you. Over to you.
That's really good to know. Anushka, I'm sure that you had to change your stream from science and then you realized you had a knack for economics. So that must have been a big shift. How did doing the foundation help you in bridging that academic gap? What extra skills you learned to be where you are at, especially now that you are going to be an incoming student for Oxford University? How did that help you in this journey of yours?
Thanks, Michi. So I think one thing I noticed shifting my streams like that was my writing skills had a lot of room for improvement, and the demand and expectation in writing intensive courses such as politics was pretty high. So that's where the foundation program really helped me, because it introduced me to academic style of research and improved my writing skills, specifically the English module, which Chris had mentioned. So that taught me how to critically think about a subject, but also how to construct my opinions and communicate them with my peers during seminars, and how to present my research in an accurate manner. And these were transferable skills which can be applied to any course you take when moving into your undergraduate degree. So that helped me with my undergraduate program going forward. And the second aspect, which I really liked about the foundation program, is because you have smaller size classes, you get a lot more personalized attention. You have a lot more streamlined advice catering to you specifically. And this allowed me to build good relationships with my professors. And given that I stayed on to Queen Mary to do my undergrad, I was able to continue building these relationships. And my professors had helped me a lot with my master's applications because they saw me grow over 4 years. So they had a good idea of my profile, and they helped me make a good contingency plan and prepare for my master's. Thanks.
That's very good to know. I think that is one of our focuses, that students should get that extra support when they are trying and studying at a university, especially at Queen Mary. We are very focused on providing that extra support to students so that they can definitely do well in their chosen field. Sanchit, on that note, I want to ask that you've recently graduated and you're job hunting, you're looking for different roles. Has this been an advantage to you when you are giving interviews, or in terms of employability quotient? How has doing a foundation affected you, both positively and I don't see a negative, but if there's any, please let us know.
Well, recently I actually worked at St. Paul Girls' School, and one of the requirements of the job was having a technical aspect on hardware materials. Even though hardware materials wasn't on my actual course of computer science with business management, but luckily the hardware course was on my foundation degree, which actually helped me achieve that position. So there are some skills such as communication methods, as Anushka just said, and those are the skills actually which helped me, and I think several other students, my friends, learn how to communicate with the world over here.
That's good to know. That's definitely nice. Did you use QM services, the career support? How did they help you?
Well, I used career support. I remember every morning, 4 a.m., we receive career emails. I still receive them. And QM Career Services actually help you very nicely. Every day, 4 a.m. morning, you receive an email on all the new opportunities available to you. So I don't think so if a student complains that I don't have a career opportunity, that's wrong. Because every 4 a.m., no matter when it is, no matter, even on Saturdays and Sundays, they work overtime. So I actually appreciate the help.
We'll definitely come on to that in the next question. But right now, my question is for Chris. Like a lot of students are unclear which path they want to take, and the foundation have some common modules. Can you suggest what should the student keep in mind when they're selecting these modules, especially when they're looking at progression? Yeah.
There's two principles that students should probably apply when they're thinking about a choice of modules. And remember, if they choose a specific pathway, there will be some compulsory modules. But for each of the students, there is a choice of an elective, if not more than one. I think firstly, they need to ask themselves what will potentially complement their main degree selection. So for instance, many of our economics and finance pathway students will choose business management as a complementary module. A student who's interested in history might also benefit from studying politics, not only because the content is complementary, but because the critical thinking skills involved can also scaffold each other. I think they should also consider the way in which they could use this opportunity to broaden their horizons as well. You can get a more balanced outlook on the world, for instance. So to take a popular but perhaps not well-known combination that students may not consider before they come in. Many of our students who study business might elect to study human geography as a combination. And one of the reasons is because if a student, let's say a management focused student, not only understands the crucial skills about how to conduct business activities in different part of the world, having that understanding of the human impact from the human geography perspective gives a much more well-rounded and overall balanced view, perhaps for decision making. So to note a specific, if a CSR agenda, corporate social responsibility, would play a great deal of importance in the decision making, a truly well-rounded individual who might have chosen that combination would be better equipped to make critical decisions because of that module selection. Or for instance, you might find a student would choose to study a modern foreign language to broaden those soft skills. It's not only good to have communicative competence in more than one language for academia, but in a globalized work context, it's invaluable, as we know.
Thank you, Chris. That's definitely insightful. And this brings me to a question that I want to ask Dr. Jain. In India, we recently, the new education policy was recently announced by the government, and we foresee an impact on the entire education system. In your opinion, ma'am, do you see the higher education system in UK gain popularity? And do you think Indian students will be choosing that, and the new education reforms will be more in line with what the teaching is abroad? What are your views on that, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm very, very happy with the changes in our education system. They were long, long overdue. So we really welcome as educationists this initiative to allow students to, I could be an engineer and fond of music or psychology. It just makes me a better engineer if I understand the people who are using it. And I think that this change will make students more in sync with the rest of the world, and those who want to go abroad will be better prepared to take advantage of the enormous resources often available at an international, rather than, I think Sanchit and Anushka are case in point that you could still be studying a subject, but you are taking advantage of career cell, you're taking advantage of the whole environment of learning, which takes you beyond the textbook, which takes your learning beyond. I think the NEP is a great opportunity for students in India to value this, that we don't need to be siloed or put into boxes at an early age. And I could still be an expert engineer. I don't have to give up sports. I don't have to give up my interest in music and literature just because I want to be a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant. I can continue to explore and have other interests without taking away from my mainstream education. I think this widening of the mind will make students appreciate the international learning even more and prepare them better to fit into the education environment, where they will really leverage and take maximum opportunities to say, even the parents will, it will change the entire community. So this impacts not just a student, but it impacts the way the entire communities will look at education. So it's a very long-term, sustainable impact, which will have a major mindset change. And that is what we are really looking forward to, and will give students a more of a taster of, if they go abroad, what will they learn in addition to, and how do they take advantage of the wider learning opportunities, number two. And number three will prepare them better to become global workers. Because now the main thing is India itself is changing. We have global companies in India who expect their employees to fit in with the Japanese team, communicate with Germany, communicate with South Africa, Ireland, and Canada, all in the work week. So this will truly make them global workers, which is what India really needs. to attract more and more global companies to India, like the Amazon, Facebook, Google, Bain, BCG. Everybody is looking at, has already set up space in India. More and more global partnerships are going to be encouraged. And I think we need to prepare this workforce, which this kind of learning will really help to take India forward.
Definitely. Ma'am, your views are definitely appreciated, and this is exactly what we anticipate in the future as well. And this brings me to a burning question for Sanchit and Anushka. As we all have gone through a sea change with this pandemic, what were the challenges you guys faced, and how did studying at QMUL work in your favor, especially for the last 1 year during the pandemic? Sanchit, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mishi. Well, during the last year, we were given a lot of support from the Queen Mary services, and there was immense help available to all kinds of students, no matter what their background is. And to be honest, it didn't feel like we were doing anything different. And to be honest, when we were on online classes, we were having more like one-to-one experience, because in a classroom like lecture halls, we have about 200 to 300 students, especially in computer science field. So it kind of gave us the opportunity to have a more interaction and asking questions. Some students tend to get nervous while asking questions in a seminar or a lecture hall such as 300 where 300 students are present. So I myself ended up asking many questions, which I think that if we see overall, it's a tendency which has increased in students in the online performance. Over to you, Anushka.
Thanks, Sanchit. I agree. I think obviously these were unprecedented circumstances, but Queen Mary University adjusted. Personally, I did my entire year virtually, and I was not in London. And personally, I felt they had enough resources, and which allowed for the quick adjustment for students pursuing their program online. For example, now we had students from many different time zones. Our professors, in order to adjust to that, gave a range of office hour timings so we all could meet and talk to them about our subject as and when required. In addition, throughout the year, the Queen Mary departments were also asking for feedback from students as to what they'd like to change and what is working well. And from my course, we did see that feedback being incorporated and taken into account. So it was nice to have our voices heard. I think one concern which a lot of my friends and I know incoming students have is that the university experience beyond academia is kind of lost because you don't have as many interactions with regards to extracurriculars. But what I noticed is that Queen Mary, majority of extracurriculars, be it career programs or research assistant programs or society functions, they were all shifted online. So it was still very active, and we got to improve our CVs and our career skills, as well as meet people through society activities. And I appreciated that extracurriculars were also valued, and it wasn't just a question of academics being put first and everything else being forgotten. Thank you.
That's great, Anushka. It's good to know both you and Sanchit have had a great experience in the last year, despite the challenges. And I'm just very mindful of the time. So I'm going to ask the last two questions from our panelists and move on to the Q&A section. Chris, I would like to know, and this is again one of the questions that has been asked repeatedly, does Queen Mary offer a direct progression into 3-year degrees? And also, if the student chooses to opt for another program in a different university, is that acceptable with other universities across UK? Thank you.
Certainly, all of our pathways offer direct progression into 3-year degrees. And as I tried to suggest before, this important element of flexibility, which some of our participants are suggesting, is inherent to the module selection that students are required to take anyway. So if a student is studying on a particular pathway, and for whatever reason, if they don't quite meet the progression criteria for that particular degree, or if they have a change of heart and they want to go for the other one, that allows them to progress into the other school that might be hosted. So to give you that example, if they were studying on the economics and finance pathway and they decided as one of their electives to study business, they could then pursue a degree into the School of Business and Management afterwards if they met the progression criteria. So we certainly would say that every single degree offers that direct pathway if they meet the progression criteria, and we build flexibility into it. Now, of course, some students may want to study on a degree program, which is either not offered at Queen Mary, or perhaps they have intentions to go elsewhere. And we certainly have a long-established record of graduates who are happy to pursue another university, either in the UK or internationally. So for example, in recent years, we have had students go to King's College, University College London, School of African Oriental Studies, they call that SOAS for short, Warwick, Brunel, Westminster, Goldsmiths, Glasgow, Manchester. These are just a few where students have decided to go into because the prestigious foundation certificate is well respected and accepted by other universities. So if I just make one closing point about what makes our pathways stand out, we might perhaps say that the flexibility we offer for these students, as well as the fact that the students tend to come through this program because of the rigorous nature with a higher outcome at the end, might be one particular point to stress that our students tend to go on to higher things. And as a perfect example, we can see, for example, that Anushka, where you're studying next year, is a great testament to what our students can achieve.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for summing that up for us. Dr. Jain, this is the last question for the panel discussion, and I would like to ask you, what is that special advice you would like to give parents and students who are soon going to be deciding on the courses and the universities? What should the students keep in mind when they're deciding or making that important decision where they're going to be studying for the next 3 to 4 years? So yes, please.
My personal favorite is the virtual tours, because I think the virtual tours on every university, I know it doesn't replace a campus visit, but it does highlight some special features of a university, and also doing a thorough research of the modules that a course contains, because British system is quite, there are not many choices as you go along in the 3 years. So there are no surprises round the corner. And therefore, it is prudent to sort of, I would say, even take a printout of courses at, say, your shortlisted 5 or 10 universities, compare what you think you would like to learn or you would like to excel, because even business and management, some universities may offer marketing as a major, some may offer finance, some may not offer a choice at all. And there are some universities which allow you to make the choice management with marketing right from day one. You could do business with law, you could do business with computer science, like Sanchit is saying. But all this is available on the website. So, don't, 5 is a very critical number. Be realistic in choices. Compare your academics with the choices you make, so that I would divide even the 5 into 2 ambitious, 2 moderate, and 1 safe based on your academics. Don't really expect the magic wand to turn up with, oh, I think my child should go to Oxford and Cambridge, and therefore somehow that 95% will happen. It is a journey that has already started 3 years ago. And I think realism on what is the best academic fit should be the main criteria, and a research on the modules of the programs, which are very clearly articulated on the website, can make a big difference in making correct choices, because there is no point in being unhappy with where you go. If you're happy, you've made the correct choices, you'll really enjoy the 3 or 4 years at university. And that is what, we want for our students.
Definitely. That's wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. I wanted to bring to your attention, to our audience especially, that the South Asia office, the Queen Mary University of London India team, we would be hosting certain appointments if you would like to understand if you are eligible for clearing or not. So if you would like to know what are your options at Queen Mary, you can always reach out to us on our email on south-asia@qmul.ac.uk. And you can also book your one-to-one appointments from 28th July to 9th of August if you want to know more about clearing. We will be sharing the link on our social media shortly. I'm just going to move on to the question and answers. The first question here is for Chris. Chris, students who have joined in would want to know what are the support that is provided at Queen Mary for taking up the foundation year?
Certainly. So within the structure of the program itself, as I mentioned before, you have what's called the core modules of English language and study skills and the independent study project. These are taught by a member of staff who will become your personal tutor. So that person will meet with you on a fortnight, every 2 weeks, to discuss not only your overall academic progress, but to help guide you through your foundation year. We definitely understand that students are undertaking a transition and they need quite a bit of support at the start, and that's certainly incorporated into the course. In the first 2 weeks, for instance, we have what's called an induction period, where you have an opportunity to undertake a task, to understand how we would expect you to operate. We guide you through that, and you have an opportunity to interact and collaborate with your classmates, as well as across the entire program. So typically we have quite a large cohort in the September intake, and every single week on Wednesdays, we have what's called a personal development session. These can typically range between 1 hour to an hour and a half at times. And this is a huge component of the way in which we try to get our students to look at not only the global community that they're a part of, but as well as the university community, the community of London, the community of learners as foundation students. We offer support for progression-based discussions if you're going in the UCAS process and you wanted to apply elsewhere, as well as the internal application process that is part of the progression criteria for the course itself. All throughout, you'll have that support of your personal tutor, as well as the academic support of your tutors in your specific subject lectures. So all of them would do office hours, which you can visit and you can ask them for support. Just something else to note, within the English language and study skills module, you meet more than you do with the other modules. So you would typically meet 3 to 4 times in a week for a period of time between 1 to 2 hours. So you're really cultivating a very close relationship with this tutor as well as your classmates. And we want you to succeed, and we slowly take away the training wheels, if you want to take that metaphor, that allow you to operate across the year. So we are following you very closely, and you have a huge amount of support throughout.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Chris, for summing it up beautifully. I am going to now request my colleague, Finn Brennan, who is going to address these questions and deliver the thank you note. Over to you, Finn. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Mishi. So we just have a couple of last questions that have come in. The first one is, are IB certificate students accepted to the foundation? The answer to that is yes. We're able to accept students with a really wide variety of different qualifications onto the International Foundation year. On our web pages, we do list all of the qualifications that we accept, the grades that we need overall, and any subject-specific grades alongside English language requirements as well. Just on a slightly related question, earlier on, we had another question asking what the difference between the UK VI IELTS and the regular academic IELTS is. In terms of the IELTS test itself, there is no difference. They are the same test. However, UK VI, so UK government regulations, mean that if you are going to study on a 1-year foundation programme, you do need to take that UK VI test, which has additional security features. So in terms of the tests themselves, there's no difference. It just has some more security features. Chris mentioned earlier that we're also able to offer a wide range of integrated foundation programs. That's where you get one offer which covers you for both the foundation and the bachelor's part of the program. For these programs, we don't require a UKVI test, so we can be far more flexible on the English language tests that we can accept. These integrated programs are offered across business management, economics and finance, and most programs in science and engineering. So that's worth keeping in mind. And the very last question to answer is, does a foundation guarantee admission to a bachelor's degree at Queen Mary? Well, the answer is yes. As long as students meet the progression requirements on the foundation year, they are guaranteed a place in year 1 of their chosen bachelor's degree at Queen Mary. At the point of application for the foundation year, students are now asked to select their preferred bachelor's degree programme, and we now give 2 offers at this point. So the student will receive 1 offer letter for the foundation and 1 offer letter automatically for their bachelor's degree programme. There's no need for students to make another UCAS application at the end of the foundation year to move into year 1 of the degree programme. So we've removed that hurdle to really allow for a very nice, smooth transition. So I think that's all of the rest of the questions we had in the Q&A section. Thank you ever so much for that. I'd just like to close off by saying, firstly, thank you ever so much for Dr. Jane for coming along and participating in the session today. It's great to have somebody with your experience, your gravitas, your knowledge in the counselling of students, and it really is very much appreciated. Secondly, to thank you to Chris, our IFY programme convener, for lending all of his expertise to the session. Those details about how we teach students, that the purposes behind the programme, and how we're not just preparing students to enter into year 1 of a bachelor's degree, we're preparing students to go on and succeed on their bachelor's and on into their further academic and professional life. Really valuable to have that input. And lastly, just to say a big thank you to both Sashit and Anushka for taking part. It's great to see our former foundation students going on to do fantastic things. I know that Anushka has now got her place at Oxford University to start this September. Sanjit also has offers for jobs for working in the UK, so great options for him now he's finished the programme. So it's really great to see the success of the foundation programme moving forward for those students. Lastly, just to say, if you do wish to get in touch with us to ask any more questions about our foundation offering, I'm going to put the contact details in the chat section, so you can get in touch with us via email. That will be foundationprograms@qmul.ac.uk, or for all of those details on entry requirements, how to submit applications, much more information via our webpage, qmul.ac.uk/foundation. I'll pop those details in the Q&A section. In fact, I can see that Jasprit has beaten me to it. So lastly, it's just to say thank you ever so much for everybody for attending. I hope you found the session as useful as I have, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.